Hey guys, tonight we're going to take you somewhere no medieval bard would dare sing about, into the dark, drafty, disease-riddled back rooms of a medieval brothel. You probably won't survive a week here. Forget lace and romance. This was a brutal system of exploitation where girls were bought, renamed, painted, paraded and discarded, their bodies taxed and tracked like livestock. You'll begin life as one of them, abandoned, sold, trained to smile when you want to scream, to fake intimacy with men who smell of sweat and horse dung, to survive when every coin is counted and every kindness is a lie. And as the years wear on, you'll try to leave, fail, rise, fade, until the day your name is no longer even spoken. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You were never meant to be remembered. Not in name, not in story, certainly not in any record. But here you are anyway. Born to a woman who already had too many mouths to feed, in a town that doesn't even make it onto most maps. Your first swaddle is scratchy burlap, and your first lullaby is the sound of someone arguing over soup. Nobody coos. Nobody counts your toes. You're not born in sin. You're born in inconvenience. Your mother names you something short, not because she likes it, but because it fits on the scrap of parchment where your name will briefly appear, then fade. The midwife wipes you down with a rag she's already used once that week. You scream anyway. You're not that brave. You grow like a weed in a cracked stone wall, stubbornly, without sunlight. You learn not to cry when you're hungry. It doesn't help. You learn to take up less space when it's cold. There's never enough firewood. You learn to hide your shoes when the taxes are collected, because barefoot children can't be taxed for cobbler's work. By the time you're 5, you know how to spot which bread is closest to mould. By 7, you know how to lie about your age to avoid the priest's questions. By 8, you've stopped growing. Food isn't scarce. It's missing. You come to understand what the sheep understand. When you're thin and quiet, people forget to beat you. One year, the barley rots early, the rats get bold, the taxes do not change. Your mother doesn't say it aloud, but something in her face hardens. She tells you you're going to stay with someone kind. She tells you to be good. She gives you half a potato. You walk behind her through muddy lanes holding a sack of nothing. You do not go home again. The woman who takes you in is too clean. That's your first clue. Her cottage has shutters, a broom made of bundled straw, not sticks, even glass, not cloth, in one window pane. She smells like herbs you can't name and wears shoes that fit. That's your second. She does not hit you. That's the part that keeps you guessing. She lets you eat warm things, even meat, sometimes twice in a week. The bed isn't straw, it's feathers. You think you've died. You haven't. You're just being prepared. She starts with your hair. She says it's too feral. Snip by snip, she shapes you into someone who might not be mistaken for livestock. She soaks your hands in vinegar and rose water. She files your nails. She pinches your cheeks to force colour into them. You're taught to sit, then to smile, and to sit while smiling. It hurts. She says that's the point. You're taught to listen when men speak, to lower your eyes, to answer as if your voice belongs to someone else. Sometimes she lets you drink wine, not for your pleasure, but to practice what it looks like. She begins measuring you, your waist, your hips, your silence. She tries your gait on different shoes, tells you how to walk, tells you when not to walk at all. She rubs garlic under your arms and says it keeps away unworthy men. Then rubs lavender over that, because the worthy ones don't like garlic. She teaches you how to smile with your mouth and not your eyes. She says the ones who fall for the eyes are trouble. She corrects your posture, your pronunciation, your hesitation. At night you lie on the feather bed with your arms folded like a doll. You're not touched, not yet. But something is being stolen anyway. You don't know what to call it, but you do miss it. It's not innocence. You never had much of that. It's something smaller, quieter, yours. Sometimes she has visitors. You're not introduced, but they look at you. One man asks if your teeth are real. She assures him they are. Another asks how long you've been bleeding. You don't understand the question. She lies. They sip wine and inspect you like a goat at market, but no one says it aloud. That would make it less respectable. She says you're almost ready. You don't know what for, but you say thank you. You practice curtsying again. You're getting good at it. Good enough that when the first man comes to inspect you, you don't shake. Not until he leaves, and the woman finally tells you what you cost. There's no ceremony, no ink, no signature, no receipt. Just a nod, a bag of coins, and your life, exchanged like a salted herring. You aren't told how much, but the way they look at you afterward, you know it wasn't enough. The first place is smaller than the cottage. No lavender, no vinegar, just lye and piss and the stink of boiled linen. There are others here, girls, women, some older than you, some not. No one says welcome. They say, wash before she sees you. You don't ask who she is, you just obey. Obedience has kept you alive this long. You're not about to switch strategies. The water is cold. You gasp. They laugh. One of the women throws a bar of soap at your head. Misses. She shrugs. You're not worth the aim. They don't talk to you much. You're not competition yet. You're still a shadow with skin. Someone gives you a shift. Stiff and yellowed, with lace at the neck. It smells like cloves and sweat. Mostly sweat. She comes at sunset. The woman they all straighten up for. Not beautiful, not cruel, just final. Her eyes skim you like a butcher evaluating a cut of veal. She says your name wrong, then says you'll need a new one anyway. You'll be called Dove. She smiles without humour. Men like soft names. That night you sleep on a cot beside the kitchen. There's a sack of flour beneath it. You think about taking some. Then remember you belong to them now, even your hunger. You dream of feathers and wine and lavender. You wake up with a roach on your collarbone. You flick it away and get dressed. No one told you to, but you figure someone will soon. Might as well be ready. Training is informal, mostly insults, some slaps, a few tips, but only when no one important is listening. You learn how to walk again, but now with rhythm, hips like a bell, arms like silk. You practice serving ale without spilling it, pouring wine without coughing at the scent. You're corrected constantly, not because they want you to be perfect, but because they want you to be valuable. The girls talk among themselves. You're rarely included. You're the new one. You're not broken in yet. One girl, Anna, offers you a scrap of meat from her plate. It's overcooked and dry, but you could have wept. She tells you, don't cry the first time, they like it too much. You try to believe that's meant to help. The brothel isn't secret, it's licensed. Technically. The guards walk past without looking, unless they're inside. Then they look plenty. There's a fee for everything. A bed fee, a washing fee, a candle fee, a coin for the priest if he comes by. No matter how much you earn, you owe more. Even the lice demand their due. One morning, you're woken up earlier than usual. The older woman, Mirelle, she paints your face. Not with colour, but with powder. It burns. You cough. She says nothing. You wear a red ribbon. They say it's tradition or punishment. Someone hands you a tiny mirror. You don't recognise the girl. The first man smells like garlic and iron. He doesn't say your name. He says something else. You try not to remember it. You lie back like you practiced. You breathe through your mouth. You imagine you're someone else. You wonder how long it lasts, then stop counting, then stop wondering. Afterward, you scrub until your skin blisters. It does not help. You are stained where the water cannot reach. You do not speak for 2 days. No one notices. Someone leaves you a bowl of broth. It's too salty. You drink it anyway. Anna comes to sit beside you. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't touch your hand. She just sits. It helps more than the broth. You don't cry, not because you're strong, but because there's nowhere to put it. You learn quickly, smiling hurts less when you stop meaning it. When the next man comes, you smile on command. He says you're fresh. You pretend not to understand. You are already rotting. You're still breathing. That is the part that surprises you. The girl who shared your cot last week is gone. No one says why. No one says her name. You do not ask. You've already used your allotment of questions for the year. They don't tell you how many customers it takes before you stop feeling like a person. But you figure it out anyway. It's not a number, it's a smell. One day, the scent of rose oil and beer on someone's breath hits you, and nothing happens. No flinch, no urge to run, no prayer to vanish. That's the day your body stops arguing. The women say you're doing fine. That's not praise. It's inventory. The madam begins sending you out earlier. You're not just part of the brothel now, you're part of its furniture. They dress you better. Not well. Just believably appealing. Enough rouge to make your cheeks look warm. Enough fabric to suggest modesty, while still selling the opposite. The men like contradiction. Perfume training begins. Yes, that's a real thing. You're handed a vial of something floral and expensive. Too expensive to waste. So they make you hold it between your teeth and walk a full circle around the room without dropping it. They say it teaches elegance. What it really teaches is clenched teeth and the value of silence. You're made to sleep on scented linens, not for your pleasure, but to ensure your skin smells like violets by morning. They say scent is memory, that men remember smell longer than names, so you are trained to be forgettable, but unforgettable. It's exhausting. Pain is part of training too. They don't call it that, of course. They call it refinement. You learn to walk on soft soles, but the shoes blister your heels. You learn to dance, but the practice leaves your thighs sore and bruised. You're told to keep your shoulders low, your smile light, your laugh high, even when your back aches and your knees burn. Pain isn't the price, it's the polish. Every bruise that doesn't show is a sign you're doing it right. And if it does show, you learn how to paint over it. No one buys bruises unless they asked for them. And some do. You get your first regular client, an older man who smells like river mud and coughs when he laughs. He asks you to call him captain. He does not own a ship. He pays well, so you play along. You salute. You pretend he's handsome. You pretend you are. One day he gives you a small carved whistle, says he made it from driftwood, says if you ever need him, just blow. You never do, but you keep it. You learn the difference between affection and currency. One can be spent, the other is the spending. Sometimes they blur. A man strokes your hair like you're his child. Another cries into your lap after his wife dies. You pat his head and whisper nonsense. He thanks you like you saved his soul. The girls teach you tricks, not the ones the men ask for, the ones that keep you from breaking. How to tense the right muscles so the wrong ones don't tear. How to hide money in your shift seam. How to fake a fainting spell when a client gets too rough. They teach you which herbs make your breath sweet, and which herbs keep you from carrying a child you can't name. You start to collect smells. The oaky tang of expensive wine, the sour sweat of a frightened first-timer, the smoky sweetness of a visiting minstrel who paid just to sleep beside you. Some smells you keep close, others you scrub until your skin is raw. Perfume becomes armour, pain becomes rhythm. You no longer wince at the sound of the boots on the stairs. You no longer flinch when a fist raps on the wood. You smooth your hair, glance at your reflection, and wear the silence like it was always yours. Pretending becomes muscle memory. You pass a girl on the street no older than 10, dust on her cheeks, holes where shoes used to be. She stares at your red-laced bodice, your neat sleeves. You offer a smile. She doesn't return it. You recognise the stare. You wore it once, too. Back inside, Morel looks you over, not with concern, but as if she's checking stitching on old cloth. You nod, she nods, nothing more. No curtain lifts, no music plays, but something inside you folds a little differently. That's when it happens. The shift. You don't sleep. You lie awake while the street dogs bark at nothing. The carved whistle rests in your hand. You haven't let go. You're still holding the driftwood whistle when Morel says, "Don't get attached." You don't ask who she means, the man or the part of yourself that felt something. Either way, she's right. That night, you tuck it inside your shoe, not because it means nothing, but because you don't want them to see that it still does. "You'll forget them all," she mutters, tying her hair back, then adds, "eventually." The first man you remember clearly after that smells like horses. Real horses. Not leather and musk, just piss, dung and stable hay clinging to his cuffs. He asks if he can call you Brigitte. You nod. That's not your name, but you're no longer the kind of girl who corrects anyone. He talks about his mare, her moods, her bad leg, her name, Lisette. You nod and smile at the right places. You're not sure if he's flirting or reminiscing. When he leaves, he places a copper on the nightstand and half a carrot. You don't ask which one was for you. Then comes Sir Gallant. Soft hands, a fake dent in his breastplate, a wooden dagger he insists you pretend to stab him with before bed. You perform the scene like a tired jester. He weeps every time. Morel later tells you he makes gloves. Some men want masks, some want silence. One brought a chicken and insisted you bless it. You don't ask, you just light the candle. It's easier not to flinch anymore, even when they ask strange things, especially then. You start working longer hours. Guild taxes are rising, so the madam raises yours. No more candle breaks, no more excuses, just clients. You hear the steward's boots more often, not outside your door, yet, but they echo too long in the hallway. One evening, he leaves an envelope under your basin. It's empty, but sealed. You don't ask, you burn it. The girls start laughing harder, at nothing, at everything. One slips on a client's boot and bruises her chin. Another gets bitten and says, "At least he paid." The laughter sounds less like joy and more like self-defense. You laugh too, eventually. Morel gives you advice while sewing a hem. "You're not here to feel anything," she says. "You're here to finish the job." You nod, because finishing is easier than feeling. Some men talk too much, some never speak at all. The quiet ones stay with you longer, not because they're gentler, but because they make you feel most invisible. When they leave, you stare at your own hands. They're clean, but they don't look like yours. Then, one night, a priest comes. He says he's here for confession. Smiles like that's funny. He leaves a small round wafer beside your candle. It isn't blessed, just dry bread. Take, eat, he whispers. You'll need the strength. Morel finds you brushing your hair that night. She watches for a moment, then says, "The steward's going to ask for you soon." You blink, she doesn't. You ask what for. She shrugs. Could be promotion, could be punishment. Either way, wear red. You wear the red because she told you to, because there's no safer choice. And because, in this place, red is not a warning, it's an invitation. The steward does not call for you that night, or the next, or the one after. But his absence does not ease the tension. If anything, it sharpens it. You start hearing the girls whisper about new taxes, about the bishop's latest sermon, about which of them might be paraded next. The brothel is no secret. It never was. On Sundays, the church bells ring just as loudly outside its walls as they do anywhere else. You know this because you can hear them while wiping the powder from your face, while hiding the bruises, while lighting the candles for the morning shift. Sometimes Morel mouths along with the hymns, not because she believes, because habit is harder to kill than faith. You ask her once, quietly, if the priests ever come. She laughs so hard she nearly chokes. They come, she says, in more ways than one. Then she hands you a basin of cold water and tells you to scrub your arms. The bishop is inspecting the stew houses this week. The bishop, a man who preaches chastity by day and drinks spiced wine here by night. A man whose taxes help fund repairs to the very chapel where he rails against sin. A man who likes his girls silent, powdered, and freshly bruised. You learn these things not because anyone tells you, but because they do not need to. When inspection day comes, the madame is manic. Everything must be clean. Everyone must be present. Even Anna, who has been coughing blood for days, is made to sit in the parlour with rouge painted high on her cheeks. Appearance, the madame says, is half the licence. You do not ask what the other half is. The bishop arrives mid-morning, 2 priests in tow, 3 guards at the door. The girls line up like livestock, you included. Your heart does not race, your palms do not sweat. You are proud of this. He walks the row slowly. His eyes linger too long on some, skip others entirely. When he reaches you, he pauses, lifts your chin with one dry finger. Good bone structure, he says, to be wasted on such a trade. He smiles and moves on. When they leave, the madame collapses into her chair, laughs with relief, orders wine for everyone. Licensed another year, she says. Praise be. Later, Morel pulls you aside. Don't think that means safety, she says. It means obligation. You nod, because you understand. That night, the bells ring again. You lie on your cot, tracing the carved lines of the whistle inside your shoe. The bishop's guards are outside the parlour. His seal is on the door. And somewhere inside you, a piece of you prays, not for salvation, just for a quieter day tomorrow. By the time the bishop's seal comes off the door, the rhythm of the house has already begun again. It never really stopped. It only waited. Like a hungover beast, too lazy to prowl but too stubborn to die. They call it a stew house, because it used to be one. Before the taxes, before the guild charters, before the bishop's annual inspection. Once upon a time, this place served broth, thick, spiced, and full of promises. Now it serves other things, and no one leaves full. You learn quickly that this is not a house of sin, not officially. It is a house of commerce, and every gesture, every glance, every fold of fabric has a price. The stew house ledger is thicker than the town's Bible, and far more accurate. Your day begins before dawn, not because clients arrive early, they don't, but because you must. There is water to carry, linens to beat, floor rushes to be changed, candles to trim, and of course, yourself. The brothel's women take turns at the communal tub. Hot water costs extra, which means no one uses it. You scrub with lye until your skin stings, then add a splash of rose water if there's any left. No one wants to smell like sweat and old broth. They want to smell like a promise. Breakfast is stale bread and watered ale. If you're lucky, a slice of cheese with no visible mould. If you're luckier, time to finish eating it. Clients arrive in waves. The early ones are usually merchants, awake since dawn, coins jingling, eager to prove they can spend them. Midday brings younger men, apprentices, errand boys too bold for their stations. Evening, that is when the house breathes hardest. The routine is brutal in its simplicity. Smile, pour ale, listen, pretend. Upstairs if they pay enough, a curtained room if they don't. Downstairs again before the sweat dries. You are not allowed to refuse, not unless the man carries disease or is listed in the madam's small locked book. And even then, exceptions are made. The madam calls it a rotation. You know better. It is a grindstone, and each of you, one more grain against its wheel. There is a fee for the bed, a fee for the candle burned, a fee for the water used. There is a cut for the madam, a tithe for the church, a bribe for the guard captain. By the time you see your share, it fits inside a child's purse. Anna keeps a running count of how many clients it takes to buy a new pair of shoes. She's on her 3rd week of counting. You stopped counting days ago. Not all men want the same thing. Some want to be flattered, some want to be punished, some want to be forgiven. But all of them want to be seen, and none of them see you. The house itself plays tricks. Its creaks and sighs make it seem alive. Its thin walls turn whispers into rumours. You learn where the floorboards sing, where the windows weep, where the madam hides her strongest wine. The church claims brothels are necessary, better here than corrupting honest women. You hear this often enough that you almost believe it, until you see the look in Anna's eyes when her cough worsens, until you see Morelle's hands shaking as she powders her bruises. Necessary for whom? Evening is the worst. Drunk men mean clumsy hands, too loud laughs, too quick fists. You learn to smile in advance, to make it look natural. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. By midnight the house reeks of sweat, ale and regret. You're expected to stay beautiful beneath it all. You no longer try. You just imitate the mask well enough that no one cares. When the last client staggers out, you do not sigh in relief. Relief is dangerous. It makes you think about tomorrow. You clean yourself quickly, scrub until your skin remembers that it belongs to you, at least a little. Then, if you're lucky, you sleep. If not, you count the coins left in your pouch, and wonder if it will be enough to survive another week. One night, as you drift off, you hear Morelle speaking softly to Anna. She's holding up well, Morelle says. She's learnt the routine. You do not open your eyes, but you smile bitterly. Because she is wrong. You haven't learned the routine. You've learned how to disappear inside it. No one gives you a handbook. There is no scroll of commandments tacked to the wall, no sermon on etiquette or deportment. But make no mistake, the brothel runs on rules, spoken and unspoken. The first rule you learn is this: you are never off the floor. Not when you're eating, not when you're stitching a hem, not when you're scrubbing blood from your own thigh. If a client enters, you become what he paid to see. The second rule: do not discuss prices aloud. Let the madam do that. Your voice is for other things. Should a man press you, smile. Tilt your head. Say, "The house will see to that." Then pray the house does. There are fines, so many fines. Late to the floor, a fine. Hair unpinned, a fine. Linen stained beyond use, a fine. Client complaints, a fine. And worse. Morel once told you, you'll lose half your coin to the house, and half again to fines. What's left? Well, that's yours if you dare spend it. She wasn't wrong. There are rules about appearance. Lips red, not purple. Eyes lined, but not smudged. Hair pinned high, unless he asked otherwise. Fingernails clean, perfume subtle, smile ready. If you can't manage that, you won't manage the rest. Some girls cheat. They bite their lips to redden them, pinch their cheeks for colour, dust their arms with flour to hide bruises. You do it too, soon enough. Then there are the rules of rank. You do not speak ill of the top girls, not where the madam can hear, not where they can hear. Their clients pay the most, their coin protects the house, and if they fall, someone else must fill the gap. You are not the top, not yet. But you are climbing, and that too has its risks. There is a rule about bruises. If it shows above the neckline, cover it. If it shows below, well, some men pay extra for that. The madam will know which is which. She always knows. There are rules about the guards. Smile at them. Never refuse them drink. Never owe them favours. A guard who likes you will turn away when you sneak bread. A guard you owe, or who owes you, is dangerous. The guards report to the steward reports to the bishop, and the bishop reports to no one. Which is why the girls shudder more when the bishop comes than when any client does. There is a rule about speaking your mind. Don't. Laugh instead. Cry if you must. But words are dangerous. The walls here are thin, and thin walls have fat ears. Morel teaches you the finer points. How to lean just far enough to seem inviting. How to sigh at the right moment to flatter a man's ego. How to weep convincingly, but never mess your powder. She calls it the art of flesh work, an art you cannot afford to master too well. Because there is one final rule, the one Morel does not speak aloud but writes in every glance: never become the favourite. Favourites draw envy. Favourites draw attention. Favourites fall hardest. You think of this when the steward finally calls for you. Not with words, with a single coin left on your pillow, stamped with his seal. No one explains. They don't need to. You dress carefully that night. Red, as Morel advised. Not too bold, not too plain, not too eager. You line your eyes, dust your skin, pin your hair high. Then you walk the hall, one step at a time, as though the floor beneath you is solid. It isn't. But you already know that. You learn quickly that the brothel has two worlds. The one the clients see, and the one behind the curtains. The second world, the women, is harder to navigate. There are no official rankings, no sashes, no lists, but everyone knows who stands where, and everyone is watching. Mirelle is top girl in all but name. She doesn't have to take every client now, she can choose, sometimes. When she enters a room, others make space, not out of love, out of habit and fear. Then there's Anna. You sit beside her often, not because you choose to, but because she lets you. Anna is the house's survivor. She's had the cough for months now, paints her cheeks brighter every morning, paints them less bright every night. She teaches you the small graces, how to bargain for extra bread, how to slip wine without paying full price, how to spot a man who likes to leave bruises. There's Celie. She's the youngest now, not by age, but by softness, the newest. The one who still hopes each client might be kind, the one who still cries when they aren't. The house's hierarchy moves in circles. New girls arrive. They're taught. They age. They vanish. Some vanish by choice. Most do not. You learn quickly which women to trust, and which to trust only as far as the nearest curtain. No one says friend here. That word costs too much. But allies, those you need. And sometimes you find them. One of the older women, Ilsa, shows you how to stitch your coin pouch into your shift. Don't think the madam won't count your coins, she says, but let her count fewer. You thank her, she shrugs, and never speaks to you again. There are unspoken deals. You cover for someone who can't take another client tonight. They cover for you when your hands shake too badly to pour wine. It isn't kindness, it's currency. The laughter in the women's world is different. Sharper, louder, more brittle. Sometimes it echoes off the walls long after the clients are gone. Sometimes it sounds like it might crack the ceiling. At night, the rooms fill with whispered stories. Who's been seen with which guard? Who might be with child, and whether they know yet? Who the madam favours this week? Every scrap of information is passed like coin, and just as dangerous if spent wrong. You ask Anna once if any of the girls have ever left. Truly left. She looks at you for a long time, then says, every girl leaves. Some on foot, some on a cart, some in the river. You stop asking. Some questions have no safe answers. Mirelle watches you more now. Not with warmth, not with malice, with calculation. You're climbing, and everyone sees it. That brings its own danger. Girls who climb too fast get cut down. Girls who climb too slow get crushed. You try to find the middle path. Some nights, you lie awake listening to the women breathe around you. Anna's cough, Celie's quiet whimpering, Mirelle's steady breath, unbroken by dreams. You wonder which of you will vanish next. But you never wonder if it will happen. Only when. In this house, the women are your mirrors. Some reflect who you were, some reflect who you might become. All reflect one truth: you're not meant to stay whole here. One evening, Anna presses a coin into your hand. For luck, she says. You'll need it soon. You look at her face, too thin, too pale, too knowing. You want to ask what she means, but you don't. Because by now you've learned one more rule of this house. Among the women, sometimes silence is the greatest kindness left. Anna's coin stays in your shift for 3 days before you dare touch it. You don't spend it, you just run your thumb over the edge, again and again. The first lesson of brothel coin is this: it is never really yours. You can hold it, you can count it, you can even stack it into neat, hopeful towers on your cot. But when the week ends, those towers crumble, and most of the coins walk away into someone else's purse. It starts with the madam's cut. Half of every fee off the top. House maintenance, she says. though the roof still leaks and the linen still scratch. Then comes the bed fee. You pay to use the mattress you sweat on. You pay to light the candle you squint by. You pay to wash the sheet that was stained by someone else. Each luxury you're forced to need costs. There's a fine for lateness, for inappropriate dress, for failing to please a favoured client. You don't ask how they define please. You already know the answer shifts with the mood of the day. Most days that mood is sour. A tithe goes to the church, of course, because your sin is sanctioned, but only if it is profitable. You watch the priest's hand linger in the coin box longer than it does on the chalice. You are not surprised. There is also the steward's fee, not formal, not written, a single silver left in a dish each week, for protection or for permission. No one explains, no one needs to. The guard captain collects his share quarterly. An envelope handed through a back door with no seal and no questions. In exchange, the guards turn a blind eye to the bruises, to the girls too young, to the ones too sick. And then, the smallest cut, the one that wounds deepest. You owe coin to the other girls, for favours, for protection, for silence. Not always openly, sometimes in extra wine poured, sometimes in a cover shift taken, sometimes in a debt remembered and called in later. At week's end, when the madam tallies your ledger, you wait, silent, still. She counts, pauses, clicks her tongue. You owe 6 coppers for linens, and 4 for the candle, and 2 for your delay Tuesday night. You say nothing. When she finally pushes the tiny pouch toward you, it is light, too light. You do not open it in front of her. You learned that lesson early. Later, on your cot, you count 4 silvers, 9 coppers, 1 bent farthing. Enough for bread, enough for nothing more. And still, you go back. Not because you hope, not because you believe, but because hunger is a louder voice than despair. Some of the girls gamble, dice behind the curtained booth, cards in the attic. Not to win, to forget. Most lose. The few who win lose later. Anna stopped gambling weeks ago. Her cough worsens. Her stack of coins shrinks. You see her fingers tremble as she hides her last silver beneath the floorboard. You do not offer yours. There is no room for mercy here, not when coin is survival. Morel keeps her stash in a leather pouch sewn into her bodice. She lets you see once, not out of trust, out of warning. Keep enough to run, she says. Keep more to stay. The younger girls think coin means escape. You thought so once, too. But coin alone is not freedom. Not here. Freedom costs connections. Freedom costs guards. Freedom costs a bribe large enough to blind the eyes that would follow you. You have none of these things. Not yet. So you keep working, and the coin keeps circling, from client to madam, to church, to steward, to guard, to girls, and never fully to you. One night, Celie asks if you'll run with her. Her hands shake as she counts her coins, thin and bright like they might fly away. You do not answer. You take her hand. You press it closed around her stack, because she is not ready, and neither are you. The next week, your pouch is lighter still. You no longer flinch, you no longer hope. You only stack the coins out of habit now. You still have Anna's. One small coin, cool against your skin, untouched, unspent. The only piece of this place that still feels like it might belong to you. Your coin is not the only thing they track. Your body has its own ledger now, a living account of what has been spent, what has been risked, what has been taken. It begins with the bruises. Small ones at first, a finger grip here, a careless shove there. You learn to map them, to know which will fade in days, which in weeks, to know when to cover and when to display. Then comes the soreness, your thighs, your back, the ache that hums in your hips like an old wound that no healer can fix. At first, you notice it constantly. Later, only when it's absent. The madam does not care if you hurt. She cares if you limp. A limping girl is bad for business, and a reminder the clients do not want. So you learn to hide it. You learn to glide. You learn to smile through the grind of bone on bone. The ledger grows deeper with time. There are the monthly bleedings to track, not for your health, for your market value. If you miss a month, you say nothing. You smile, you work. And later, when you are alone, you brew the herbs. Morel teaches you the recipe. Pennyroyal, savoury, a pinch of rue, boiled until bitter enough to coat your tongue and your hope alike. You drink, you wait, you pray, not to a god, but to gravity. Not all prayers are answered. Sometimes a girl disappears for a week, returns thinner, paler, quieter. Sometimes she does not return at all. You count days now, not for freedom, not for escape, for cycles, for signs, for the arithmetic of risk. Hannah shows you the scars once, fine white lines along her belly, too thin to be surgical, too cruel to be accidental. Third time, she says, voice flat, no more. The clients do not see this ledger. They see painted skin, laughed eyes, a practiced sway of hips. They do not ask what it costs. They do not want to know. You begin to track the others too. Morel's cough that worsens in damp weather, Celi's hollow cheeks, Ilsa's trembling fingers. Each woman is a ledger, each body a list of debts and damages. And disease. Disease writes its own line item. The madam inspects for sores, for rashes, for fevered eyes. If you show signs, you are arrested. Not for your sake, for the house's. Because diseased girls draw no coin. But resting means no earnings. No earnings means deeper debt. Some girls work through the fever, paint the pallor from their cheeks, walk on legs that should be lying down. You understand. You would do the same. There are salves, herbs, old tricks whispered in corners. None of them cure, they only delay. Delay the sickness, delay the ruin, delay the line where ledger becomes epitaph. You begin to resent the mirror. It shows not your face but your inventory. Lashes curled, lips painted, bruises faded or masked. It shows what can be sold and what must be hidden. One night, Morel says softly, keep a private ledger. Know what they take, know what you spend, and know what they cannot buy. You think about this long after she leaves. What can't they buy? You're not sure anymore. The months pass. The ledger grows. Some lines written in flesh, some in bone, some in absences too deep to name. You add them all, silently. You still count coins at week's end, but now you count other things too. Scars that will not fade, moments stolen, trust spent and unreplenished. A different currency, one no client sees. And when you lie in the dark, Anna's coin still pressed to your skin, you whisper the only sum that matters now. How much is left of you to spend? Most of them blur. Faces flatten, voices dull, details fade faster than bruises. But some stay, pressed into your memory like a seal in wax. You do not choose which ones. The first is the boy, not a man, not yet, a face still round with youth, a voice not yet finished growing. He arrives clutching a coin so tightly you think it might snap in two. He stammers through every word, sweats through the fabric of his sleeves. When he touches you, it is as if his hands ask permission with every breath. After, he leaves a folded scrap of paper beside the pillow. One word. Sorry. You remember the note more than the boy. You do not keep it, but part of you still holds it. Then there is the merchant, a man who counts coins in his head while inside you. You can see it in his eyes, the flicker, the measure. When he finishes, he offers you a copper less than agreed. Says, you weren't worth the full rate tonight. Morel makes him pay the difference. But the words, they leave a bruise no coin can cover. Another you remember for the smell. Violets, of all things. A client drenched in it, enough to turn your stomach, enough to haunt your linens for days. To this day you cannot pass a flower cart without flinching. Some you remember for cruelty. A hand too tight on your throat, a whispered threat too close to your ear, a slap that leaves your hearing skewed for a week. The madam calls them unfortunate clients. You call them by another name. But not all memories rot. Some, bewilderingly, linger softer. There was a soldier once, broad-shouldered, scarred across the jaw. He paid triple for the night, then asked only to hold your hand and sleep. No more. You stayed awake the whole time, waiting, fearing some change of mind. But morning came, and he left, wordless, gentle. You do not tell the others about him. Some memories lose their weight when shared. Then there was the priest. Of course. The one who asked you to confess to him between each act, demanded you beg forgiveness for sins he himself designed, left a wafer in your palm as payment. You crushed it beneath your heel after he left. That moment that you do remember clearly. There are more, always more. The man who called you by his dead wife's name, over and over. The one who asked to braid your hair and weep into it. The one who brought a music box and insisted you dance naked to its tinny song. You do not remember the songs. You do remember the chill of the floor beneath your feet. Some nights you think, I will forget them all. But memory is a trickster. It lets you forget the ordinary. It stitches the terrible to your bones. Anna says once, coughing into her sleeve, it's not the worst ones that stay. It's the ones that almost could have been different. You nod, because you understand. The house encourages forgetting. Drink, laughter, noise. But when the door closes and the candle burns low, there are only your own thoughts. And the men you remember. You try to tally them sometimes. A game, a punishment. You never finish the list. You never want to. One night, you ask Morel how she forgets. She looks at you a long moment, then says, I don't. I just let the remembering hurt less. You understand that too well. The men come, the men go. Their faces blur, their coins vanish. But the ones who carved a mark, they stay. Inside your mind, inside your skin. You do not want them there, but this is not a life of wanting. It is a life of tallying. Coins, scars, breaths, memories. And long after the coins are gone, the memories are the only thing left unspent. When you get sick, you try not to. You try harder than you've tried for anything in years. Because sickness here is not an inconvenience. It is a warning sign, a mark, a sentence not yet passed but already prepared. You have watched it happen. Anna, coughing harder with each dawn, a hollowed-out look creeping into her eyes, her smiles becoming thinner, her place at the table growing emptier, until the day she simply stopped coming downstairs. You hear the others whisper, "She's resting. She'll be back." You do not ask when. When you get sick, the first sign is ignored. A scratchy throat, a restless chill, an ache that you blame on the mattress or the weather or last night's rougher client. You tell yourself it will pass. It must. You cannot afford otherwise. The house does not give you medicine. It gives you expectations and superstition. Morel presses a sachet of dried lavender into your hand. "Sleep with this," she says. "It fools the body." You try. You do not sleep. The fever stirs behind your eyes like a second, smaller self. You swallow elderflower tea, chew raw garlic until your mouth burns. You recite old rhymes under your breath, the ones that promise to banish illness, as if words can outpace what is already inside you. But the body keeps its own ledger, and its debts always come due. When the fever breaks, the shivering begins. You wrap yourself in blankets, layer upon layer. But the cold is inside you now. No cloth can reach it. You go to the floor anyway, because the alternative is worse. A girl who cannot work is a girl who cannot stay. The madame watches you with eyes sharp as knives. She does not ask if you are well. She asks if you can still take clients. You say yes, even when the words scrape raw in your throat. You paint colour into your cheeks, line your eyes twice as dark to mask their dullness. You smile through the dizziness, through the nausea, through the way the room spins whenever you stand too quickly. Clients do not notice, or they pretend not to. Their needs outweigh your condition. But the girls notice. Morel passes you a cup laced with willow bark. Célie slips extra broth into your bowl. Small kindnesses, unspoken. And then, one night, Anna is gone. Her cot empty, her coins left untouched. No explanation, no ceremony, just absence. The house moves on. Another girl takes her place, another smile painted, another name whispered through the curtains. You swallow bitterness with your broth, because you know the same will happen to you when your time comes. When you get sick, you learn to calculate. How many shifts can you survive on sheer will alone? How many before the madam notices, before the guards notice? And when they do, there are 3 options. Be sent to rest, be sent away, be sent nowhere and wait for the end in your own bed. You fight for the first option, though you know what it means. Resting girls rarely return. The ledger of your body grows heavier, each breath taxed, each movement counted. You no longer tally coins, you tally heartbeats. When you get sick, you do not ask for help. Help is a kindness no one can afford. You ask only to endure, to remain unseen just long enough to recover. Some do. Most do not. And if you do, if the fever breaks and the shivering fades, you return to the floor. Thinner, paler, older in the eyes, and the clients do not notice, but the girls do. When you get sick, you come back changed, because now you know how thin the line truly is, between worker and waste. You do not cross it, not yet, but your toes rest against the edge, and you pray, not for health, not for hope, only for more days to balance on the line before you are pushed across it. You come back from sickness with new understanding. Your body might recover, your mind cannot afford to. Pretending is the only skill that matters now, not the walking, not the smiling, not even the flesh work Morel taught you. What the clients want, more than anything, is to be cared for. And so, you learn to care, or rather, to look like you do. The first man after your sickness is a weeper. You can see it in his eyes before he speaks. The drink already halfway down, the words ready to slur, the grief rotting in his throat. You seat him gently, you stroke his hair. You tilt your head with just enough softness. When he starts sobbing into your lap, you hum something, tuneless, meaningless. It does not matter what you say, only how you say it. Later, Morel watches you from the corner. "You've learned," she says. "Good." And so the lessons continue. Some men want to be adored. Some want to be forgiven. Some want to be mothered. None of them want the truth. You learn to read the signs. A man who speaks of his wife in the first breath, flattery will not work. Sympathy will. A man who removes his boots carefully, he wants gentleness. A man who rips them off, roughness masked as passion. You learn to modulate your voice. A little higher for the shy ones, a little lower for the arrogant. Laughter where it flatters, silence where it wounds. Pretending to care is an art, but it is also a shield. If you pretend well enough, you do not have to feel at all. Celie struggles with this. She is too young, too soft still. After a long night, you find her curled on her cot, face blotched with tears. "I couldn't stop thinking about him," she whispers. You do not comfort her. Instead, you say the words Morel once said to you. ... They pay for your time, not your heart. Don't sell what you cannot buy back. Pretending becomes second nature. Soon you no longer think of it as pretending. It is simply what the night requires. There is a client who comes every Thursday, always alone, always carrying fresh flowers. He places them in your hands as if you are his betrothed, as if this is a courtship. He speaks of poetry, of longing, of how his soul aches to be understood. You smile, you tilt your head, you let your fingers brush his wrist with just enough tremble. He leaves convinced you love him. You leave with his coins and no trace of him in your heart. You do not feel guilt. Guilt is a luxury you cannot afford. The men talk. They talk endlessly. About their wives, their regrets, their secret dreams. You listen with eyes wide. You nod in all the right places. You gasp, you murmur, you soothe. And afterward you wipe their words from your mind like spilled wine from a table. Sometimes, rarely, a man sees through it. You don't really care, one says bitter, you're just playing a part. You meet his gaze evenly, smile softly, and you are paying for the performance. He does not return. You do not miss him. In the quiet moments, if there are any, you think about what care used to mean. A hand held, a true smile, a word meant. Now it means a touch, a sigh, a mask worn so well you almost forget it's there. Morel warns you once, don't stop believing your own lies. Some girls do, and when the lie unravels, so do they. You take the warning to heart, or to what is left of it. When you pretend to care, truly pretend, you must hollow a space inside yourself. A room where nothing lives, only echoes. You keep that room locked, most of the time. But on the rare nights when a client is kind, not just to your body but to the mask you wear, you feel the lock strain. You remind yourself, kindness is a tool here, not a truth. The act protects you and imprisons you. Because the longer you pretend, the harder it is to remember how to stop. You do not mind. You cannot afford to. So you keep pretending. Because the clients pay for care, and because pretending is easier than feeling. Easier than remembering what care once was. It happens slowly. so slowly you almost don't notice at first. One client who used to ask for you every week asks for someone else. The next week, he doesn't come at all. Another, who used to bring flowers, now brings none. He still smiles, still pays, but the warmth is thinner. You tell yourself it's nothing, a bad week, a passing mood. But the weeks keep passing, and the mood does not lift. It is not your face that changes, not at first. The rouge still covers the pallor, the eyes still line sharp, the smile still curves where it must. But they sense it anyway. Something behind the eyes, a weariness in the gestures, a shift in the scent of hope you once carried. They turn to younger faces, softer faces. The house notices too. Your name appears later on the rota. Fewer shifts, more gaps between clients. At first, this feels like a gift. More time to rest, more space to breathe. But breath turns sour when there is no coin behind it. And then the small cruelties begin. You're asked to help dress the newer girls, to paint their faces, to lace their bodices. You smile, you nod, you do it. Because to refuse is to hasten your fall. The younger ones glance at ye, sometimes with pity, sometimes with calculation. Both sting. Sally passes you in the hall one morning fresh from a long night. She blushes, looks down. "You taught me well," she whispers. You do not answer. You cannot. The guards stop flirting. Their eyes slide past you now, seeking brighter prey. You learn to make yourself useful in other ways. Helping with the linens, stocking the wine, tending to girls too sick to tend themselves. The madam watches, says nothing, but her ledger speaks volumes. Your coin pouch grows thinner. You finger Anna's coin more often now, not for luck, for memory. The men who still come to you are not the ones you choose. The rougher, the drunker, the desperate. The ones who care less how the paint cracks on your cheeks. You begin to crack inside too. Not visibly, not yet, but you feel the hairline fractures widen each night. There is no shame here in aging out, only silence. A quiet fading, a drawing back from the hearth. The house hums on without you. The laughter from the main room feels farther away. The music thinner, the light dimmer. You watch it all from a distance. Close enough to hear. Too far to join. When they start avoiding you, you learn another lesson. It is not the bruises that mark you, it is the emptiness behind your eyes. You try to fill it. With powder, with rouge, with practiced warmth. But men read hunger better than beauty, and yours is no longer the kind they seek. One night you're left untouched for a full shift. You sit by the fire, hands folded, smile fixed. No one calls your name. No one meets your gaze. You tell yourself it is a blessing. Your body aches less that night, but your heart aches more. When they start avoiding you, you begin to wonder which is worse, being used or being forgotten. You do not find an answer. And so you sit, powdered, painted, poised, waiting for a call that does not come. The house hums on, and you hum with it, fainter and fainter still. You hear the whispers first. A new one, barely old enough, pretty. You do not look, not at first. You already know. Every house runs on a cycle. Girls rise, girls fall, girls are replaced. Now, it is your turn to fall. The girl arrives on a damp spring morning. She wears a pale blue dress 2 sizes too large, her hair braided too tightly, her eyes wide and full of questions no one will answer. You watch her from the shadows. Not with envy. Not at first. You watch with memory. Because you remember being her. Morel meets your gaze across the room. A small nod, no words needed. The Madame calls her Celeste. She will not keep that name. None of you do. You are asked, told, to help train her. You want to refuse, but refusal would only hasten your slide. So you teach her how to paint her cheeks without smudging, how to hold her breath when the smell is too much, how to smile with her mouth and not her eyes. She listens, eager, grateful. You hate her for that. But only a little. Mostly you pity her. Because you know what she does not. Period. No amount of rouge or ribbons will keep her safe. The clients notice her at once. Eyes lingering longer, voices lowering, coins jingling louder. Your name disappears from the rota. Your shifts shorten, your clients fewer. And still, you teach her. Because it is expected. Because to do less would draw the Madame's eye. Celeste thanks you. She smiles. She trusts. You want to tell her, do not trust anyone here. Not even me. But the words stay locked behind your teeth. The first time she returns from a client trembling, you find her in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees, face streaked with tears. She looks up, whispers, "Does it always feel like this?" You sit beside her. Not too close. Not too warm. You say, "No." It feels worse. She does not understand. Not yet. But she will. The house shifts around you. Where once your name was called first, now it is called last. If at all. You polish glasses, straighten linens, fade. The younger girls pass you with wary eyes. Not unkind, but distant. They have already begun to write you out of their story. One night, Celeste leaves a small ribbon on your cot. Blue, frayed at the edge. You do not return it. You do not wear it. You tuck it away with Anna's coin. Not as a keepsake. As a warning. When the girl who took your spot smiles across the room, you smile back. Because that too is required. But inside, you count the days. Because you know her fall will come. And when it does, someone else will take her spot. And so the wheel turns. And so you learn, no spot here is truly yours. You only borrow it, until someone younger, softer, hungrier, comes to borrow it next. You tell yourself you're not trapped. You tell yourself you could walk out tomorrow. You tell yourself lies. But still, one night, you try. It begins with a rumour. A merchant's wife seeking house girls for kitchen work. Better coin. Less shame. Morel hears it first. "You didn't hear this from me," she says, "but there are ways." You clutch Anna's coin tighter. Celeste's ribbon too. Hope is a dangerous thing, but you let it bloom anyway. The first attempt is simple. You speak to a guard, offer extra coin for passage one night. He smiles, takes the coin, says, "Of course." That night, he does not appear. The second attempt is more desperate. You ask Morel if she knows a smuggler. She looks at you long, too long, then says, "They sell girls too, you know." You do not ask again. The third attempt, you do not plan. It simply happens. A late night, the door unguarded, the streets quiet. You step out. 1 foot on cobblestone, 1 breath of cold air. And then a hand on your shoulder. Firm, final. You do not see who it is. You do not ask. You simply return. The Madame says nothing the next day. But your shifts double. Your meals shrink. Debt is the real chain here. You owe for food, for bed, for candles, for the guard's silence. You will never pay it off. That is the point. You begin to imagine escape instead. Not with footsteps, with thoughts. A quiet cottage, a river, no locks, no ledgers. You know it is foolish, but you build the image anyway. Because the alternative is despair, and despair is not allowed here. Morel watches you more now. Not unkindly, not warmly, just watching. One night she says, "You will not win this." You do not argue. Celeste notices too. "You look tired," she says softly. You laugh, a sound too sharp. "You will too, soon enough," you say. The next attempt is not physical, it is spiritual. You visit the chapel. Not to pray, to listen. A sermon on forgiveness, on freedom of the soul. You feel nothing. But still, you sit. Because for 1 hour, no one touches you. No one calls your name. Afterward, you leave no offering, only footsteps. You try to leave in dreams too. But the house follows you even there. Curtains, voices, coins clinking. There is no true leaving, not yet. And still, you try. Because to stop trying is to die here, long before your body fails. You know this now. Morel sees it too. One night she presses something into your hand. A small key. "To my trunk," she says. "For when you can run, or when you can't." You do not ask what is inside. You simply nod. You try to leave. And for now, trying is enough. 'Cause someday, you tell yourself, it will not be trying. It will be leaving. You almost forget the festival is coming. Almost. But the town does not let you. Neither does the house. It begins with the colours. Scarlet and gold banners strung across the alleys. Saints painted on wooden boards, their eyes too large, their smiles too thin. The town loves its saints, and loves its sinners too, once a year. You ask Morel why it's done. She says, to cleanse the streets. You both know it means something else. The brothel prepares as if for a feast. New dresses, gaudier than usual, hair piled high, faces painted bold. You're not given a choice. No girl is. Celeste watches you lace your bodice. She asks, will they be cruel? You say nothing. You do not lie. On the day itself the streets hum. Merchants hawk sweets and ribbons. Children chase each other with sticks. And you're paraded. It begins with the procession. You stand in a line with the other girls, faces powdered, eyes rimmed dark. Behind you, the clergy walks, swinging incense, chanting prayers. Before you, a wooden cart, painted to look like a gilded cage. Inside it, a statue of St. Magdalene, robe half open, eyes cast upward. They call it honouring her. You call it mockery. The crowd gathers thick. Voices jeering, coins tossed. Some shout blessings, some shout filth. The guards walk close, laughing. They do not protect, they contain. You keep your head high, not out of pride, out of spite. Celeste stumbles beside you. You catch her arm, hold her steady. You remember your first festival, how the crowd roared, how your knees shook, how Morel whispered, smile, or they'll think you care. You learned. This year your smile is practiced, hollow as the saint's wooden eyes. At the square the priest speaks, words of repentance, words of redemption. You hear none of it, only the clink of coins, only the low hiss of breath behind you. Then, the dance, a cruel tradition, One by one the girls are called, to spin beneath the saint's gaze, to be judged. You do not want to be chosen, you do not want to be ignored. Both carry their own shame. When your name is called, you step forward. Slow, measured. The music starts, high, tinny, too fast. You move, not with grace, not with desire, with survival. The crowd cheers, the priest watches. You feel nothing. When it ends, you return to the line. Breath shallow, skin cold. Morel meets your eyes, nods once. Later the feast. Tables of meat and bread, wine flowing. Clients pouring, words slurred, coins flashing. You endure. Because you must. The night ends in candle smoke and spilled ale. You return to your cot, dress torn, face streaked. Celeste curls beside you, eyes red, voice small. "I hate it," she whispers. You say nothing. Because hating it changes nothing. And next year, if you're still here, you will dance again. For the saints, for the whores, for the ones who no longer know the difference. It starts with smoke. You wake before the others, before the bells, before the shouting. Just smoke. Thin, bitter, curling under the door. You sit up slow. Not fear, not yet. You think, the kitchen, a spilled lamp, a careless flame. But then the shouting begins. Boots on the stairs, cries from the courtyard. You throw back the blanket, bare feet on cold stone. Celeste is already coughing. Eyes wide, voice raw. What do we do? You do not know. You pull her up, grab a shawl, no time for more. The hall is thick with it now. Smoke in your throat, in your eyes. You can barely see the stairs. Someone pushes past, a guard maybe, or a client. You do not stop to ask. You reach the main room. The fire is real. It eats the far wall. Painted wood crackling. Velvet banners curling black. The girls scatter. Some scream. Some flee. Morel stands near the doorway, eyes sharp, mouth grim. She meets yours, nods once. No time for words. You shove Celeste toward the exit, her cough tearing loose. The air outside is no better. Ash falling soft as snow. You do not stop running. Not until the river. Cold. Still. Safe enough. You collapse there, breath burning, eyes stinging. Celeste sobs. You hold her, because there's nothing else to do. The others trickle in, soot-streaked, silent. Morel comes last. Her hair singed, her sleeves torn. She sits beside you, does not speak. You watch the smoke rise. Higher, wider, gone. No bells ring now. The house is lost. And you're not sure what that means. Relief flickers, guilt follows. Because part of you is glad. No ledgers, no shifts, no festival. But also, no roof, no coin, no place. Freedom and ruin, hand in hand. The others whisper, "Where will we go? What now?" You do not know. You sit until dawn, watching the ash settle. When the sun breaks, the town stirs. Guards move through the wreckage. Merchants mutter. Already the talk begins. Who caused it? An accident? A judgment? You listen. Say nothing. No one blames you. No one asks. But you know, one way or another, you're free now. And freedom is colder than you imagined. Celeste leans on your shoulder, asleep, spent. You stroke her hair once, gently. Then rise. Because the fire took the house, but it left the hunger. And hunger drives you forward. One step at a time. You tell yourself you won't stay. Not after the fire, not after that night by the river. But there is nowhere else to go. Freedom tasted thinner than ash, and colder. It is Morel who calls you back. Not with words, with a glance. A small flat parcel pressed into your hand. A key. The house will reopen. You do not ask how she knows. She always knows. I won't run it. You hold the key tighter. Someone has to. You tell yourself you'll say no. But when the new doors open, you are there. Not dressed in rouge and ribbons now. In black wool, hair pinned, ledger in hand. You become the madam. The first thing you learn is this. Power here is a cage lined with softer velvet, but still a cage. The second thing you learn, period. The girls look at you the way you once looked at Morel, like survival was something she could teach. Fear, curiosity, hope, barely breathing beneath both. You feel none of their hope, but you remember it. At first you think you can do it differently. Be kinder, be softer. But the house is not kind, and softness does not protect. Soon you are counting coins, balancing ledgers, inspecting bruises not for sympathy, but for marketability. You hate this. You do it anyway. Because if you do not, someone worse will. Morel is gone now. No one says where. Her absence sits in your chest, heavier than the key. Celeste stays. Older now, sharper, learning faster than you did. She calls you madam in front of the others. But alone, sometimes, still you. You pretend not to hear the difference. A new girl arrives. Too young, too pale. You take one look and know she won't last. Still, you teach her. How to walk, how to smile, how to survive what cannot be survived. You hear Morel's voice in your own. It sickens you. You do it anyway. The guards deal with you differently now. Not a girl, not a mark. A merchant of flesh and coin. You use this. To get more firewood, to keep the worst men out, to buy time for the sicker girls. You become good at this. Too good. Some nights you sit by the ledger long after the candles burn low. Not adding, not subtracting. Just staring at the columns, at the names, at what cannot be tallied. Anna. Gone. Morel. Gone. You. Still here. When Celeste comes to your door late one night, eyes red, you already know what she will say. I want to leave. You meet her gaze, say nothing. She waits, then whispers, "How did you stay?" You want to tell her the truth. That you didn't. That part of you left long ago, and what remains is just what the house built in its place. But you do not say this. You say, because no one gave me a door. And then you hand her a coin, a real one, from your own pocket, not Anna's, not Celeste's ribbon, a new one, bought with bitter years. Take it, you say, find your door. She leaves before dawn. You watch from the window. You do not follow, because you are the madam now. And madams do not run. They stay, and account what is left behind. You do not expect to last this long. Few do. But here you are, older, quieter, still counting the nights. The house runs beneath your hand now. Girls come, girls go. You keep the books, the keys, the rituals. But you know the truth. No one remembers the madam. They remember the prettiest face, the brightest laugh, the girl who vanished first. No one remembers the one who stayed. You stop trying to teach them hope. You teach them skill instead. How to breathe when they want to scream. How to hold a coin so tight no one can take it. How to leave before the house eats them whole. Some listen, some don't. You do not chase them. The city around you shifts. New banners, new saints, new taxes. The old names fade. You stop hearing your own name. They call you Madam now. Only Madam. One night, a girl brings you flowers. She does not know why. You place them in water, watch them wilt. Time wilts everything here. You stop going to the chapel. Not because you no longer believe, because you know better now. Saints do not save girls like you. You light your own candles instead. One for Anna, one for Morel, one for Celeste, wherever she has run, one for yourself. No prayers, just flame. You do not know when the end will come, but you know how it will look. One day the house will hum on without you. Someone else will take the keys, the ledgers, the girls. You will leave no grave. There is no graveyard for women like you. No stone, no name, no mourners. Only memory, faint as ash. You do not fear this. You have lived unseen for so long. To vanish feels natural. Some nights you dream of water. Cool, clear, running fast. You wake with the taste of a river on your tongue. You smile at the thought. Not all vanishings are loss. Some are escape. Until then, you hum the house to life each morning. You count the coins, the girls, the nights. You wear the keys with no pride, no shame, only purpose. And when the time comes, you will slip away. No grave, no name, only a whisper. Perhaps some girl years from now will ask, "Who ran the house before?" And no one will answer. Or they will say, "I think her name was..." But the name will not come. And that will be enough. Because in this life, fading is its own kind of freedom. You smile once more, light one last candle, and let it burn.